Well, how did you guys meet, and how did you like? I love people's love stories. Like, how did you know that each other was the one?
But I met him when I was a contestant on American Idol.
Oh, you did?
I did. I was
that.
Yeah. That season, I mean, if you remember how massive American Idol was at that point, it was just like, it was, I mean, they gave us our own security guards to go to the malls to shop. It was like every week we would go, and it was so unnecessary, but that's how important they thought like that the show was. And like, you know, if Steven Spielberg is watching American Idol every week, it was pretty important at that time. It was pretty major. So I say that because they had amazing guests every week. Like we had Stevie Wonder and Rod Stewart and Andrea Bocelli and David Foster. And I remember calling my mom and saying, "You're never going to believe who's the guest mentors this week." And, you know, my mom was a huge Andrea Bocelli fan. And so I grew up like listening to all his music. And then I said, "The producer, David Foster." And I was like, "I don't know who he is." And she's like, "Katharine,
David Foster,
David freaking Foster."
Like, David Foster, you know who David Foster is. And I was like, okay. So I grew up idolizing Celine, and that was one of the many people that he like. She was already he'll credit her because he's always good at giving credit where credit's due, but he'll say that Celine was already famous in Canada, but he brought her down to America and made her first album with her. And so I was obsessed with Celine, obsessed with not Mariah Carey, well, her too, but he didn't produce her. And the Whitney Houston Bodyguard soundtrack. I mean, he did like everything that I loved. So anyway, that was when I first met him. But of course, it wasn't like, I mean, I was very young and we have a huge age difference. And so I was certainly not, all I was thinking about was the competition and Andrea Bocelli and getting through that week. But it was really cool because when I came off the show, I came in second, I didn't win, but I got signed to RCA, and they had me, the big song that I sang on Idol was Somewhere Over the Rainbow that Simon picked for me. He had like said, this is a song that Kat's going to sing, you know. And so RCA had hired David. So I remember like getting in my little, because I grew up here in LA. So I had my car here, and my mom came to the studio, and he lived in Malibu at the time, this beautiful property. It was mostly like the house itself, he'll say, like wasn't even that great, but he had this amazing studio with this huge lawn. So it's just like straight out of a movie, where I pull up in my little like Honda Civic car, so cheeky, my first little car that I ever had, into this like big beautiful mansion, and had a great session that day and recorded the vocals with him. And I just remember being really, you know, I realized obviously at that point how iconic of a producer he was, right? And all the amazing accomplishments he had, and being there with my mom, and wasn't just talking about music and stuff. So it was a really special day. And then he started taking me on the road, like to do a bunch of, I mean, everyone would tell you that he never says no to a charity event, right? He's like always doing the musical entertainment for a charity event. So, but then he always needs singers to sing. So I started becoming one of many singers that he would take on the road with him. So none of that had any romantic notions whatsoever. Although he did, like, you know, he did make it known that I was marrying the wrong person. I did get married. I got married. I was almost 24, so I was 23. And so I'd already known him for a couple of years now. I'd been done a bunch of gigs with him. And he came to the wedding and played the piano when I sang for my then husband. That situation didn't work out, but it was, you know, I learned a lot, but he was just kind of always this person that I really felt honored to know, and to just, I knew I never had any intentions of him producing an album for me or whatever. Music is like a whole other subject I could go into. I kind of always just in the back of my mind realized I would probably be more of an actor than I would be like a recording artist. And yeah, so we stayed friends and did a lot of gigs together and got to know each other in a lot of different circumstances. But it wasn't until after I moved back from LA, I went to New York. From New York, I did Smash for 2 years, did a TV series on CBS Scorpion for 4 years. And then it wasn't until like the last 2 years of Scorpion that we ran into each other in Palm Springs. And I was much more mature. I was 32 years old. And we had a lot of red wine.
That's how it always starts.
Yes,
That's how my babies were made.
He invited me and my sister, who I took her to Palm Springs for a girl weekend, to a tennis match because I saw that he was in Palm Springs on his daughter's Instagram. I add you, and he said, "Come to the tennis match," and I was like, "Okay," and we went, and my sister went back to our hotel, and he's like, "Come stay and party with a bunch of friends." There was like tons of people, and we just kept drinking wine, and it was just a very different night than all the previous years.
I love it. Sounds like, you guys, that's actually really cool to know somebody that long and through different stages of your life like that. And then like, when like when it's the time, it's really interesting what they say about timing, right? It's like, sometimes it is the right person, but the time has to be right too.
Yeah. The time has to be right. Well, and I've always was crazy about him, and not in the same way, obviously, that I could realize that I could be. And so now, of course, I'm always like, I wish I'd been with you like this whole time, whatever. But I would have never worked out because I would have probably been insane and crazy and like, had to go through the young 20 something years that I needed to. But it's true. It's like amazing that we've known each other as long as we have. And I'm out of breath because I'm pregnant. I had to take a pause.
I know the feeling.
I thought you were having a contraction. I was like, is it happening right now? This is going to go viral if you have the baby on the podcast.
No, I mean, I'm literally like trying to, if I seem like I'm in distress, it's only because
You don't look pregnant from here. This is the thing, because normally
I'm pregnant.
Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. When I was pregnant, my entire face blew up. Like, I looked pregnant from here down, for sure. You do not pregnant. You just not pregnant. You don't look
Thank you
at all. You don't look puffy or anything. You just look
my feet and my ankles and my calves are like all just like one giant unit. Like there's no separation from. Anyway, thank you. But let me just say that when you know, but it did take me because I knew him for so long, and I loved him and I liked him, but I was really freaked out about like the age difference. I was just like, I mean, I was. It was just not even like that I was freaked out. It was just like, oh, this is just a fun thing. Like we've always loved each other, but he always kind of not inappropriately, not like when he was in other relationships, but when he wasn't, he always kind of made it known that he had feelings for me or whatever. But I was always like, you're insane. Like, you're too old for me. And it's just like, now when we're together, it just is right. And it's some people are never going to get it, and we don't care. We're fine about it. It's just like, he's the best thing that ever happened to me, but he was always the best thing that ever happened to me. Like even when he was just a mentor or someone who gave me privileges of performing and giving me experience or giving me a job, right? Like he was always special to me. So the fact that we're sharing this life together, it's like we'll still be driving the car, and I'll like turn to him, and because I'm like super romantic, I like and I'll just be like, I can't believe we're together. I can't believe I'm with David Foster. And he just laughs, and like, I can't believe we're having a baby. It's just like, because I still can't believe it. It's so cool. I think it's the coolest thing. It's like the greatest honor of my life.